I'm Danny Kahneman. I'm a psychologist.
I'm Olivier Sibony. I'm a professor of strategy at HEC Paris.
I'm Sunstein. I'm a lawyer.
What we often see in meetings is the suppression of noise that should actually be expressed. That is, meetings are mostly the way that they are conducted. They are a device to reach consensus as quickly as possible and not to have a lot of argument and not to have a lot of disagreement. So actually, our recommendation for meetings, which is that you should start meetings by exploring the range of opinions that people have, the whole range of opinions. That is, by showing noise, illustrating noise to everybody, and then discussing, because the rapid convergence to an opinion is frequently associated with polarization, with an exaggerated opinion. It's very frequently associated with overconfidence, because when everybody seems to agree, then that reinforces everybody's sense that, oh, we must be onto something that is correct. So meetings are really the nexus of a lot of what is happening in decision making that maybe should be reconsidered.
Suppose you have a group of people deciding whether to have a new business venture or whether to hire someone new. If one person starts out the meeting by saying, it's a terrible idea, then there might be a second person who kind of thinks it's not a terrible idea, but is busy or humble and will say, I kind of agree, it's a terrible idea. Then you have two, and then a third person who might be humble or deferential says, it's a terrible idea. And then pretty soon you can have a whole room concluding that's a terrible idea. Now, I worked in the White House and I saw actually that happen at the highest reaches of government, where a first speaker can induce a group to go in a direction which the group actually wouldn't have gone if something like independent statement of views had been welcomed culturally. Now, what's interesting about that is, in one way, you're suppressing noise within the group. You're making sure that there's no variability in the group. But if you think of groups as kind of each one is one of a cloud of possible groups, where that group consisted of, let's say, 15 people who could have decided it was a good idea if the first person had shut up, or if the first person said, I'm not sure, but I tend to think it's a terrible idea, then you can see that across a universe of groups, or imaginable groups, there's a lot of those, where one company, let's say, can do something that another company deems foolish. There's noise across groups just by virtue of the fact that one person confidently spoke first in one group and that person didn't do that in another group. You can also see if someone's in a very cheerful state of mind or in a very sad state of mind, maybe the pandemic just broke, they can be enthusiastic or unenthusiastic about something, and their own noise within themselves can lead them to lead the group in very disparate directions. And that can create, and does create, a lot of problems. A leader who is reluctant to speak out until the people within the group have felt free to say independently what they think is often a really good leader who elicits better group judgments. A leader who takes steps even if she or he does assert a view, which I would not recommend early on, is very good at making clear that there's a culture in which what it means to be a team player is not to go along with the group, but to expose such information and perspectives as each person has. That way you elicit within the group a diversity of views, which can produce noise within the group. You're seeing a lot of people think different things, but can produce across different groups less noise, because if they're all acting like that, they might all decide, for example, in the medical case, it really is cancer, because they've listened to everybody.
Actually, having a diversity of points of view is generally a very good thing in a group. And that having a group that, a group of clones will agree very easily, but this is not the best way to find solutions. So that a group that is actually diverse and is quite likely to be very useful, and the decisions of diverse groups are likely to be less noisy than the decisions of more homogeneous groups that are led in one direction or another without the countervailing forces of differing opinions. So the mix of the need for diversity and the need to achieve solutions that are not noisy, that's one of the subtleties that we've been interested in this book.
Hachette,